Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. As a super quick further ado, Gamersubs is currently doing a Christmas gift with purchase sale, so that's going to be while supplies last. So if this interests you, you know where to go. Use code OZ at checkout. Thank you! This post was collected by Direct Caterpillars 77, and their tagline is, of course, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Kim Boyson, posted to r/Am I the Asshole, June 20th, 2024. Am I the asshole for telling my sister it doesn't matter how anyone else feels about my wife's assistance dog? My wife and I live in a different state to my family. However, we often travel back to my home state for special family occasions, birthdays and Xmas for an example. My wife is a 22-year military veteran, and when she discharged, it was medically. She's been diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and has spent several stints in psychiatric hospital, one for 4 months. She was prescribed an assistance service dog, who we have trained up under the supervision of a registered organization, and she, we'll call her Daisy, is formally qualified and papered. She goes pretty much wherever we go, including interstate flying in the cabin of the plane, with my wife in an ambulance to the hospital, and also was interned with her at psychiatric units. My family are all aware of this and mostly supportive. Mostly. However, the last time we visited for my niece's 21st birthday, I was questioned by both my sister and my niece about whether Daisy was accompanying my wife to the party, which I responded that she was, as my wife really struggles in loud, crowded environments. There was about 80 people and loud music together in one room. My niece suggested several reasons why Daisy shouldn't go. Loud music, balloons, lots of people, which I assured her Daisy was fine with. And they already knew this, being very familiar with Daisy's very calm temperament. My sister then spoke to me after my niece and also said similar things. Not outright saying, but heavily suggesting it would be better if Daisy didn't attend. I just said if my wife feels she needs her, she will be attending. Sometimes my wife has been able to do small things without her, but never big events like parties. Even shopping centers and restaurants, Daisy comes with her. Anyway, the party came and went. My wife had to take 4 Valium to cope, but managed to sit through the evening with Daisy by her side, at her feet, at a table. Other people throughout the evening went over to talk to her, and most didn't even notice Daisy was there. For myself, I'm used to my wife's conditions and knew that although she was struggling, she was coping and even enjoying talking to people at times. I danced the night away, periodically sitting down beside my wife and checking in. After the party was over, we had a few days at my sister's house, where the topic of her son's impending wedding came up. Again, I was asked by my sister if my wife would be taking Daisy. I again said yes, more than likely, for the same reasons as the 21. Lots of people, loud noises, crowded environment. Again, it was inferred that the event wouldn't be suitable for Daisy. The tables were really crowded, lots of people, plus my sister suggested that if my wife didn't have Daisy, she would be able to get up and dance. Before my wife had her breakdown, she was not a dancer, and now, with her anxiety, there's no way she'd be comfortable out on a dance floor. I was so taken aback. I didn't know how to respond. My wife heard my sister talking to me, and so she suggested she only go to the ceremony and skip the reception to avoid my sister getting stressed out about her dog. My sister snapped. "They're at the same venue!" Then softened it with, "Of course we want you to come." Both my wife and I felt uncomfortable and kept reassuring my sister Daisy would be fine, as she has been taught to sit under my wife's chair out of the way. It felt like the concerns raised weren't genuine concerns, but just a way to feel like Daisy was unwelcome. We flew back home not long after, and this is where I may be the asshole. We woke up the next morning, and the first words out of my wife's mouth were, "Maybe Daisy and I should just stay home for the wedding and you go by yourself, so I don't stress your sister out by taking Daisy." I felt so bad for her. It's taken such a long time for her to feel comfortable in going out in public, and Daisy has been instrumental in that. And now, my family were making her feel like she wasn't welcome with her assistance dog. I reassured her, but later in the day, I rang my sister and told her what my wife had said, and that perhaps more care could be taken to make sure my wife wasn't left feeling that her conditions were not considered. I told her my wife had said perhaps she shouldn't go to avoid stressing her out, and my sister just said, "Yes, and?" To which I replied that she had been prescribed a dog for a reason. And without her dog, my wife would likely not go anywhere like she used to. My sister said, well, she was better last time she was down and she didn't take her everywhere. I explained that mental health goes up and down. Last time, she was doing a bit better. However, she'd just been sick and was put on medication that messed with her regular meds, and so was only just coming out of that. Also, I reminded my sister the last time we didn't really go out, apart from to a restaurant, to which Daisy also came. I just feel like I'm constantly trying to prove my wife's medical conditions. Even her PTSD has been questioned, as my sister's words. She didn't go to Afghanistan. She even had her best friend question me about it. I'm tempted to tell them some of my wife's horror stories, but I just keep it general so they don't get secondhand trauma. My sister also said that she had to think about other people. And I said, why? Does someone have a problem with Daisy attending? And she said her son, my nephew, and his future wife had spoken to her about it. I said, well, I'll ring them then. Which she hastily replied, no, you can't. They spoke to me in confidence. I said, I just don't understand what you're trying to achieve. And she said, it's not just about you. I have to think of other people. I said, well, you wouldn't be asking Nona if she was going to bring her wheelie walker. And she said, actually, Nona might be in a wheelchair, so I'll have to put her at the end of the table. To which I snapped and said, yes, but you wouldn't tell her she's not allowed to bring her wheelchair. And she replied, I didn't say you couldn't bring Daisy. I said back that it was disingenuous to pretend that your questions aren't designed to make us feel like she shouldn't be coming. To which she replied that she couldn't handle this stress I was causing her. And she said goodbye and hung up. So am I the asshole for calling my sister out on her questions regarding my wife's assistance dog? Am I too sensitive, like my sister said? Update, June 21st, 2024. After reading the supportive comments from almost everyone, I ended up ringing my nephew. Firstly, a few clarifications. 1, I am a woman. It's a same-sex marriage, so I'm not her husband, but her wife. 2, her Valium is only 2 milligrams. She took 4 that night, which is 8 milligrams, which means she was nowhere near whacked out of mind, like some suggested. She has 5 milligram tablets as well, but prefers to titrate the dose herself in 2 milligram increments for precisely that reason. 3, yes, I was up dancing the night away, and this does not make me a monster. We rarely go out, and when we do, my wife loves seeing me enjoy myself and letting my hair down, as much of my life is in service to her and her conditions. She gets enjoyment from me having fun too. Plus, the dance floor was like 3 meters from where she was sitting, and I could see her watching me and smiling. 4, please refrain from calling my sister nasty names. Yes, she is out of line here, but she and her kids are my only immediate family, and are very important to me. Going no contact would hurt me as much as her. See what I mean with the whole no contact thing? Anyway, for the update, I rang my nephew and asked him if he and his bride had a problem with Daisy accompanying my wife to their wedding, as my sister was suggesting they did. I said that while my sister hadn't directly said Daisy couldn't go, it was being heavily implied that she wasn't welcome. My nephew seemed kind of confused initially, and didn't really answer the question other than to say he hadn't really thought about it. I wondered then if he was being cagey, so I asked him for his total honesty, and he said that when he spoke to his mom, then he stopped, and said, actually, Mom spoke to me. He also told her he hadn't thought about it. He then said he hadn't even asked his fiancée yet. I told him my anxiety was really high over this, and I just needed to know how he felt, and he said, I guess I just assumed Daisy would be going with your wife, as they're kind of a package deal. I got quite emotional hearing this, and he told me not to worry, that everything must have been blown out of proportion, and so long as my wife was okay. He's always been a really caring kid, which is why I had my suspicions that my sister wasn't being totally honest. Anyway, we chatted some more, and he told me to stop crying, otherwise he'd cry at work, and all his mates would laugh at him, which made me laugh. He said he'd ring his mom, so I guess shit is going to hit the fan. I have several stress-related conditions because of what I've been through keeping my wife alive, so I really struggle these days with anxiety. I have MINOCA, which stands for myocardial infarction with non-obstructive coronary arteries, and have had a heart attack in the past from stress, Takasubo. I've been having really bad chest pain from this and stomach upset, so although I was tempted to tell my nephew not to call his mom, I need a resolution one way or another. The limbo is too difficult to manage, so I guess there will be another update. OP adds additional info. Comment 1. Thank you so much for your considerate reply and your service too. My wife is on medication that helps. It's taken a few years to get it right. And she sees a psychiatrist and psychologist every fortnight, and is linked in with other VA services. She's also given up alcohol. She drinks 0% beers now, which she says are great. And she undertakes an exercise program. It's taken a long time and a ton of effort on her behalf to get to this point, and a lot of input and help from me. That's why I'm so protective of her. I know the hell she's been through to get to the point where she can even consider going to big events. Everyone else just thinks she's fine. I still see her nightmares at night. Her sitting in the car, willing the courage to get out with Daisy at the shops. Her anxiety rising in crowds. Her bad days in the privacy at home, etc., etc. You know the story. I've tried to encourage her to link up with other veterans, but she finds some people too triggering. And we've had a couple of instances where vets have been inappropriate because they are unwell. She may consider it again, but right now, she keeps her bubble small. Thank you for your kind words. I'm not the perfect partner all the time, but I do give it 100% effort, that's for sure. She deserves it, and so do you. Comment 2. My wife has had a seizure in the past from PTSD nightmares, but it was only once. My sister knows she's been hospitalized. She's seen her not be able to get out of bed for days with migraines. But it seems when my wife is functioning better, that it's all forgotten. My wife is very good at hiding her illness too. Years of being in the military teaches you that. But I don't think it's specific to my wife. When I was in the hospital with a perforated bowel, I felt that was minimized by my sister too. Unless it's happening to her, she seems to struggle to empathize at times, but is very caring sometimes too. It's really confusing. My sister is a very complicated person. She has suffered the trauma of losing my mom, like I did, quite young, and her death was quite horrific. My sister has very bad anxiety, and I guess that's where the extreme need for control comes from too. I have control issues too, although not to the same degree, and I work really hard on letting go. My sister seems to be getting worse, but she won't recognize the problem, and won't get help. And no one, apart from me occasionally, stands up to her. My niece tries to, but it doesn't go well at all. Final update, August 19th, 2 months later. Ugh. I've been asked for an update quite a few times now, and I'm sorry, but I just haven't been able to face it, so I'll try my best. Here it goes. After I spoke to my nephew, my sister rang me, pretty livid that I'd spoken to him. She said she'd never said Daisy couldn't come. I guess technically that's true. But that she didn't understand why Daisy was sometimes with my wife and sometimes not, and it was all too confusing for her, and could I explain it, etc., etc. Firstly, my wife and Daisy are together over 90% of the time. I think one time when we were visiting my sister, we popped down the local shops briefly and Daisy didn't come. We were out for half an hour, tops, and my wife was having a good day. My sister then brought up a motorbike event that my wife had mentioned she might be going to later in the year, and said that obviously my wife wouldn't take Daisy, so how did I explain that? I said I didn't know about that, and I wasn't even sure my wife was going. When I spoke to my wife later on, she said she hadn't decided yet if she was going, as it was months away and she wouldn't know how she would feel, and that if she went, Daisy would be going, as they have support vehicles and she could travel on that while my wife was on the bike, and be with my wife the rest of the time. Obviously, my wife would only attempt this trip if she was in a good place, as riding a motorcycle long distance takes a lot of concentration and energy. At this stage, she thinks she's probably not going, but it's nice to dream. My sister said she never said anything about Afghanistan, promptly followed by, I know there's Iraq and Iran as well. Also, 2 places my wife hasn't been in the Navy either. So that didn't really help her case. Anyway, it was a whole lot of emotional justifying and defending her position, gaslighting, etc. It was exhausting and emotionally draining, and I was an anxious crying mess by the end of it, trying to defend my wife's medically diagnosed conditions and her medically prescribed assistance dog. We're in Australia, so assistance dogs equals service dogs. My sister said the whole point was she just wanted to be able to discuss it, and that I was just like Auntie, someone she hates. So that was another kick in the guts. I finished up by saying, I feel we have discussed it now, and there was no need for further discussion. Since then, I've been very panicky, feeling like I wouldn't have a family if we didn't get over this. Like she turned her kids against me, misrepresented what I was saying, etc. So I kept calling, trying to have friendly, normal chats, trying to get back to a happy place. I was totally out of control and desperate to smooth things over. I ended up on medication just to cope with my anxiety. Sorry if this is all a bit scattered. I'm finding it hard to write about as I don't want to think about it and spiral. I'm better now, more in control, but it's been a couple of months getting there. Since the argument, we have been civil, but it's a weird vibe, like a big fat elephant sitting in the room. Today I was having a conversation with her and things were a little warmer, until she started talking about our uncle, who admittedly is a bit of a strange guy and who she also hates, saying how dare he decide my niece, her daughter, had a problem with him. He had sent her a text message that she didn't reply to, so he wrote to me saying he didn't mean to upset her. He was just making assumptions. Then she started ranting about how this family has a real problem with that. People making assumptions about other people's intentions. Which I knew was having a go at me and my wife. So I cut her off and said, I'd better let you get back to work, and said goodbye. My sister is never going to admit fault. She's always the victim. Everyone else is oversensitive or just plain wrong, and it's just so disappointing and maddening. But there's nothing to be done. It's either I stand up and we fight, and she never talks to me again, or I just try to focus on her good points. She does have them, and ignore this behavior. Surely deep down she must feel bad. Maybe. I can't imagine how she can possibly think her behavior is okay, but maybe she does. All I can do is have boundaries, but try to assert them gently and without too much conflict. On a positive note, I spoke to my nephew again when I rang him for his birthday, and he brought it up again. I was going to leave it, and reassured me that he'd spoken to his fiancée, and both of them are happy to have Daisy there. And it's all been a misunderstanding, and he didn't want his mom and I to fall out over this. He's such a good kid. Well, man now. He also knows his mom very well, but like everyone else, takes the path of least resistance. He even defended her, saying that he probably gave her the wrong impression. He didn't. He's just trying to take the responsibility off his mom, which is something he would do as he wants everyone to get along. I wish just for once she could see that sometimes her behavior is really hurtful and ease up on the judgment and controlling behavior. She never takes responsibility for her harsh words. Anyone have any ideas what makes someone behave this way? Because I'm stumped. Thanks for listening. I can't talk to anyone else. This sister is 100% a drama monger. That's just what it is. It was told to me in confidence. So you broke the confidence by telling me about it. And if I reach out to them to clear this up, it's a, no, how dare you? But when I did reach out to them, it's, what the fuck are you talking about? So you made up the entire situation and tried to switch blame from yourself being the one who was unsure if they wanted Daisy to attend to actually concerns have been brought up to me by my son and his fiancée about the dog's presence. It's not me that has a problem with Daisy, I swear! This is just one of those things where a lot of people don't understand that just because a disability isn't always present doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. When it comes to the social aspect, you're going to get a lot more hell for an invisible disability than you would having one that's outwardly visible. Because if you park in a handicap spot for your invisible disability, you're going to get people harassing you about it because you don't look disabled. What does disabled look like to you? Because I've known people where one day they might need like a cane or a walker to get around because their joints have just decided, fuck it, I'm off duty today. Then other days, they're spry as a goddamn peacock. It should turn out that peacocks are notorious for having horrible joints or some shit like that. My point being is just because you can't see a disability doesn't mean it's not there, and this is very clear how OP's wife is. Like, yeah, they're gonna have their good days. But just because you have those good days doesn't mean bad days don't exist. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Of course, Satan is not a pogo stick." Original OP is Donkey Impossible 292 posted to r/am I the asshole December 4th, 2020. Am I the asshole for getting mad that my oldest son didn't let my youngest win a game? I have 4 kids. Only 2 are relevant to the story. My 10-year-old son, we'll call Jack, and my 8-year-old son, who we'll call Tony. They were playing Mario Kart with each other on their 3DSs. My oldest son knows to let the youngest win. Otherwise, he'll throw a tantrum. The boys swapped DSs because Tony's needed to be charged, and Jack didn't really feel like moving from his spot. Like I said, Jack knows to let Tony win, but for some reason, he didn't this time. Tony started his usual "I didn't win" tantrum and threw Jack's DS across the room. The console broke, the top screen came off, the bottom and the buttons are unresponsive. Jack was upset, and that's why I got mad at him. He had been told repeatedly to let Tony win to avoid a tantrum. My husband and my 2 girls, 16 and 17, are saying that I should make Tony give Jack his 3DS. But I think it's Jack's own fault for giving him one and then not letting him come first place. Jack is refusing to share anything with Tony and has hardly spoken to me in days, so I'm left to deal with the constant tantrums on my own. Am I the asshole? Edit, can you guys please stop messaging me wishing death on my kids? God damn, Reddit, what the fuck? So, just real quick, as someone who grew up with video games, it's important to teach kids the sting of defeat or else they feel like they're entitled to a victory every single time. By essentially doing this, you're putting your son in the position of he feels like he's entitled to always be successful and to always succeed. And it's gotten to the point now where you feel like that's a requirement because he throws tantrums over it. Not only have you put yourself into this position, but it sounds like you've offloaded the responsibility of these tantrums onto your younger son as well. And if I were to maybe hazard a guess as to why Jack didn't let Tony win this time, I've been in a situation similar to this. Now, for those of you who may or may not have caught my streams, I'm kind of an RTS nerd. Sometimes I'll bring them out on stream even though people hate watching them. And I'm not half bad. Now, once upon a time, there was a friend that I was bringing into the world of RTS games because they were interested. I was going easy on them, letting them win a few games so they enjoyed learning how the game was actually played and didn't feel like they were just playing an impossible game to win, because they also weren't interested in battling against AI. Well, after letting them win a few games, I caught them at school, bragging about how easy it was to beat me in RTS games. So the next time we played, I buried them. Over and over again. And my guess would be is Jack was probably getting tired of Tony bragging about how good he was at Mario Kart, not realizing the only reason why he was good at Mario Kart is because Mom was making Jack lose the game so Tony wouldn't throw a fucking temper tantrum. That's not fun. Anyways, Reddit deemed this person to be the asshole. Relevant comments, Reina Dulce. You're the asshole. You need to put a stop to Tony's tantrums. Just because Jack is older does not make it fair that you don't want to properly parent Tony. Is Tony on the spectrum? That would explain his behavior better, but if he's not, then you need to parent him even if it's stressful to you. It's not fair to any of the older kids, really. OP responds, Tony isn't on the spectrum, but he's got ADHD and is an intolerable mess when he's screaming and shouting. Hate to break it to you, but that's not an ADHD thing. That's a you thing. User YellowPig69 comments, you're the asshole. Letting Tony win all the time to avoid a tantrum is not the way to do it. He's not learning to deal with disappointment or figuring out how to try harder or to do better. I do agree with you not making him give up his DS though. Instead, I'd be making him do chores to earn money to buy his brother a new one. OP responds, they're not made new anymore, and I don't buy second-hand tech. So if I made Tony give up his, he won't have one. Deleted user comments. Info, what is your plan for the future? Will Jack always have to give up things in order to keep Tony happy? They're young now, but what about in a few years when Jack gets his first girlfriend? Will Tony throw a fit, or the teenager equivalent? How will you handle it then? OP responds, everyone in this house makes sacrifices to make Tony happy, not just Jack. They'll have to keep doing that until they move out. Deleted user comments, what about making Jack happy? Is that important as well? Update, March 16th, 2021, 3 months later. Hi, so it's been a few months since I posted that, and I was mostly, rightfully dragged for it. There's been enough breakthroughs for an update, so here we go. As I mentioned in the comments, Tony had unmedicated ADHD, and after taking him to his doctor to start the medication process, we were told that it wasn't ADHD, but most likely autism spectrum disorder. The doctor was in fact right. However, Reddit was right. I was enabling his behavior. We, myself, my husband, and Tony are all in a group and individual counseling now. And on to Jack. I did not make Tony give Jack his 3DS. But Santa delivered Jack an early Christmas present, a brand new Nintendo Switch. Tony isn't allowed to touch it. There's much less tolerance for Tony's tantrums now, and his behavior has improved massively. He doesn't get what he wants just because he'll have a tantrum. Now he understands that he'll be put in a room on his own, and if he comes out before he's calmed down, he will not be acknowledged. Overall, a pretty positive update. Thank you for all your advice and for telling me I was in fact the asshole. Relevant comments. Frank Four Fingers 101 comments, did you have any sort of conversation with Jack to let him know how you were wrong for enabling his brother's behavior? In the last post, it was pretty clear that Jack was used so that you didn't have to deal with Tony's tantrums, and that he probably felt really shitty about that. I truly hope that you're not just being a better parent to one kid, but a better parent to both. OP responds, yes, I've spoken to him and told him exactly what I did wrong, and asked him what he wants me to do in order to make it up to him. User Jeram00 comments, you're still the asshole. You should have taken the 3DS away as well as all electronics from Tony. Buying Jack a Switch does not negate your super shitty parenting from before. OP responds, he wasn't allowed to play any games on it until this month. I confiscated it until he showed me he was ready to have it back. Honestly, before the update, the comment from OP about everyone needing to make sacrifices for Tony until they moved out was extremely telling of her parenting philosophy. I am glad that in the update they 180'd on that and actually saw the error of their ways, but still, if they had not posted to Reddit, would they have corrected this behavior and corrected their parenting approach? Would Tony and Jack be living in a different universe where Tony, even as a teenager, is still being placated 24/7? In the end, I am just glad that it's actually handled. Hopefully. This post was collected by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, it dawned on me that he was a wizard. The original OP is Symphony Sadness, posted December 7th, 2025. Am I the asshole for telling my friend's wife she can't invite random people to my house? I, 29 female, have a really strong core friend group. We have annual holiday traditions like Friendsgiving, a Christmas party, etc. One of my guy friends recently got married over the summer to a woman none of us can stand, but we tolerate her for his sake. He's the nicest guy ever, and she's clearly using the shit out of him. For context, in the 2 years they've been together, she's moved her children into his home, has quit her job to start a ridiculous side hustle that brings in no income, and convinced a man who said he would never get married again to do just that. Fast forward to now. I sent out invites to our annual holiday party. It's always hosted at my house. It's usually our core friend group with a few extras sometimes, but not always. Usually the extras are people most of our friend group knows. I was going through the digital invite list and saw a name I didn't add, didn't recognize, and didn't know. I asked our group chat who this person was. Apparently, my friend's wife took it upon herself to invite her friend to my party. My address is on the invite, I pay for all the food, and we also do a Secret Santa exchange, which was already set up weeks prior. Here's the thing. Had she asked me, I probably wouldn't have cared and been okay with it. But she didn't. When I confronted her, she said she doesn't know any of us, so who cares if she brings a stranger? She's known all of us for 2 years and is included in every activity and group chat/event we are all in. I politely told her I would have appreciated being asked first and that things are already paid for and planned on, so I'm not okay with a stranger coming to my house. She's still pushing for her friend to be there. I also found out she apparently invited randoms to our Friendsgiving event, which my boyfriend hosted at his place. They didn't show, but still, this just seems wild to me. I'm also usually a laid-back, easygoing person, but this really made me angry and felt like my boundaries are crossed, and she's still pushing the agenda. My friend, who she is married to, is the nicest guy ever, and I truly value his friendship, so I don't want to hurt his feelings or piss him off, but I really don't want her friends. We don't know, at my house, in ruining our night/vibe or being worried about things being taken from my home. My friends are like family, so I'm torn. Do I just let her bring her friend or put my foot down? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. +1 doesn't get +1s. Downvoter commenter responds, while this is a good rule, it's weird to treat someone's wife as a +1. Spouses are part of the group. It sounds like other people in the friend group have invited extra people and it wasn't a problem because OP doesn't hate them. I think it's generally best not to invite my own guests to other people's houses, but that's not a rule in this group. I think it comes down to, does OP accept that her friend loves this woman and is married to her? Does she want them in her life anymore? OP is hoping the wife will go away, and that's not likely. I think OP is spending way too much energy fussing about her friend and his wife's life. The friend or his wife could easily write in for advice about how to deal with the hostile person in the friend group. OP needs to decide if she likes the friend more than they hate the wife and her kids. OP responds, no one else in the friend group invited anyone else. The only people invited were the core group and their spouses. I want to make it clear, I don't hate her kids. They're children and not the issue. I'm a mother myself. My issue is a 37-year-old female who should know better and also is a mother invited a random stranger to my house without asking me. Commenter 2. How do you know she quit her job for a ridiculous side hustle that brings in no money? Did she tell you? Did he tell you? Are you guessing? OP responds, we have a group chat. All of us plus spouses are in it because we hang out together frequently. House gatherings, sports events, bar outings, bowling, etc. We even take an annual weekend away together, all of us. So we're all pretty involved. She told us she quit. She started a food cart, not truck, business that she shares a ton of content with on social media. Out of her multiple events, she's never made a profit from what she tells us. She's now moved on to renting out used toys for birthday parties. Our friend has a high-paying salary job as an executive. He told us she basically moved her and her 2 kids in without asking. It started off as sleepovers here and there, but then they just never left, and he converted his extra rooms into rooms for the kids. She pays no bills. Commenter 3. This feels like you're the asshole. None of you like her and it shows. You want to punish her because you don't like her, so you're punishing her for bringing her friend. You would have figured out a way to be shitty to her regardless. Oh my fucking god, no, she just... Dude, buddy, how would you feel if you invited someone over and they just started inviting other people to your house without even asking or just seeing if that was okay? Would you be A-okay with that? Or would you be actively trying to find reasons to be mad at them? Think! OP responds, we literally picked the event date so she could be there. We're all nice to her unless she makes rude comments. Then we check her, which happens frequently. Commenter 4. Is she a lot younger than your friend group? Do you think it's noticeable to her that she's not very liked? Honestly, it maybe seems like she wants someone there as a safety net and someone to socialize with, since it sounds like it's possible she feels excluded, especially by the way you're talking about her. Maybe behind the scenes her husband is requiring her to go, but her compromise is bringing someone she's comfortable with in the event her husband is socializing with your friends and she feels left out. I'm just trying to reframe it for you. See, this one, in comparison to the previous one, actually seems like they're paying attention and is giving a genuine and honest response. Obi responds to that comment, I'm actually the youngest in the group. I'm 28. The rest are all in their late 30s/early 40s. She's 37. Her husband prefers when she doesn't come along because he actually enjoys himself when she isn't there. My friends are also like family, so that's why I'm not torn, but caterers have been paid for and gift exchanges have been set. Additional information from OP after reading comments and clarifying details. Thank you all for your comments. I didn't expect this to blow up and can't respond to each one, so I thought I'd add some context clues here. 1. I am a female. I don't know how some of you missed that. There are 4 females and 6 males in the group. Most are couples. 2. I am the youngest in the group. The rest are all in their late 30s, early 40s. I am 28. 3. We all hang out pretty regularly and always include everyone. Weekend trips, outings, sports events, etc. 4. This isn't your standard house party. It's a gathering I host every year. I have it catered, we play games, we do gift exchanges, I show a video of our best moments of the year, etc. 5. None of us can stand her because she's rude, and we all see through her trying to manipulate our friend. Our friend doesn't stand up for himself, as some of you have mentioned. This is his 3rd marriage. 6 months into the relationship, she brought her girls for a weekend sleepover, and they basically never went home. She's made plenty of rude remarks to each of us and thinks she's funny. At Friendsgiving, she started eating food before we sat down for dinner and mocked my boyfriend's home decor. She even hid some of his paintings in his garage when we weren't paying attention. 6. We are all nice to her for the most part and include her because our friend did marry her, and we have common courtesy in class, unlike her. In fact, I purposely picked a date she could attend when her ex has their kids. 7. My problem isn't my dislike for her. My problem is she invited a random person to my home and didn't ask. I'm a single mom. This is also my child's home. I am careful about who I let into my home. If she had asked, I probably wouldn't have cared and could have planned for an extra guest. She didn't. And now this person has my address and contact details. 8. She knows all of the group who is coming. Her comment about us being strangers made zero sense. She's been on trips with us even, and birthday parties for the kids. Most of us were in their wedding party. Hope this clears up some gaps. I appreciate all of your input. This friend means the world to me, so that's why I'm treading lightly, but also would never invite a random person to someone else's gathering without asking. Update, December 10th, 2025, 3 days later. I ended up canceling the entire party. Taking most of your advice into consideration, I reached out to my friend's wife and let her know I would not be able to accommodate extra guests as planning/caterers had already been booked. And the event was a focus on our core friend group and celebrating the holidays together since we're like a second family. I deleted the digital event and invite list and created another so her friend that she invited would not see it. The next morning, I received more RSVP confirmations than guests I had planned/accounted for again. She invited her friends again, and this time invited more people. So I snapped. I sent a message in our group chat telling everyone that since my house rules can't be respected, I will no longer be hosting this year's event. Most of my friends understood where I was coming from. Her husband apologized to me immediately, saying he had no idea she had done this again. I told him I'm not upset with him, but I need to put my foot down here to have my boundaries protected. I also informed him of my safety concerns of bringing strangers into my home. He totally understood. I told him that my boyfriend also didn't appreciate her behavior on Friendsgiving and that things are still missing from her trying to be funny and moving things around. He offered to pay for them, which I told him not necessary. I told him I love him, but basically, he needs to get a handle on his wife and explain if she wants to be included going forward, there needs to be respect. So, there will be no Christmas party this year. I told the chat if someone else wants to set up and host, that's on them, but maybe we can try again in the new year when we're all more aligned on boundaries. Thankfully, I was able to get refunded for the catering/most things I purchased. My boyfriend and I are just going to take the money to go to a really nice dinner, buy a really nice bottle, and go home, get drunk, and watch The Grinch that night. Hot take, but unlike some of the Reddit commenters, I don't think it's that controversial to be upset that someone you invited to your party is inviting other guests. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.